Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of the Amateur Experts Podcast, where we are experts on absolutely nothing. But we're going to try to be experts today on NFL predictions. We are finally here. Host Landon Oliver here with my two co-hosts, Andrew Scott and Jared Holly. What's going on, guys?
Not much.
Ready to finish up all these predictions, man.
Yeah,
we've previewed every division. We've done everything there is to do, preseason wise, other than to make our official picks for all the good stuff, all the playoff spots and the awards and everything. And then that means the very next podcast we get to do gets to actually start talking about week one, which means week one is here. So yeah, I'm excited, man.
Yeah, we are less than 4 days away now at this point from the start of the season with the Thursday night game. And then now we are officially less than a week away from the actual NFL season starting. So if you've been following up to this point, like Andrew said, we've kind of covered every division, how we think the divisions are going to play out. Now we're going to cover the playoffs, give you our MVP picks, some of the other awards and all that. And, we're really excited to add Jared into this now too, because now you're going to get three people that you can laugh at the end of the season.
Yeah, there's nothing like, deciding what's going to happen in February and September, and nothing can go wrong there. So,
yeah, I remember looking back last year because it came up on Facebook because for some reason, I don't know why I do this to myself. I always put it out in public on my Facebook too, so my friends and family can also laugh. And I put my predictions up. And so that came up on my memories the other day for last season. And, I got some right, but boy, the ones that were wrong were really wrong. Yeah, they were not even close. I was really high on the Jaguars for whatever reason.
You were not high on Justin Herbert coming out.
I was not a big Justin Herbert fan, as Jared knows. And I have somebody that shares that with me.
Yep, I was right there on that boat with him. I didn't like anybody outside of Burrow really in that draft class. So,
So the only thing that is for certain with the NFL is that we will get these wrong, but it's still fun to do. And on the off chance that for whatever reason we are able to get some right, we're going to brag about it. So,
the football does not spike itself.
No. So we will go ahead and get started on our playoff predictions here. Let's see who Andrew decides to throw into the fire first.
Oh, certainly not myself, since I got control of the
button. Well, of course it's going to be me. So basically, I'm just kind of continuing on with last week with my love for the Buffalo Bills, as you can see, but I want to touch on some other things before we get into the Bills season. So we have the Bills with the 1 seed, the Chiefs with the 2, Browns winning the division with the 3, and the Colts winning the AFC South with the 4. And then the Ravens are going to bring up the 5th seed, Titans in the 6th seed, and the Patriots are going to sneak in here with Mac Jones.
Patriots.
Yeah, Mac Jones completely, is between the Steelers and the Patriots for me, and the Chargers as well. All 3 of those teams were kind of there, but I think just those other divisions are a lot tougher than having the Jets and Miami. So I think that's going to benefit the Patriots a little bit more than having, to go up against the Steelers and the Ravens, or the Steelers having to go up against the Ravens and the Browns. And, obviously too, with the Chargers, with Kansas City there, that's, going to be tough as well. And the Raiders, for whatever reason, those are the only games they do win are divisional games. Right. Yeah, anything outside of the divisions, the Raiders are probably losing, but they'll sneak in some divisional games for sure. So yeah, I just think the Patriots division just makes it a little bit easier for them to sneak into that last spot. Plus I really like, if you listen to the last show, we did our NFC East preview, you already know, big fan of the Patriots defense this year, offensive line, running game. And I think Mac Jones is going to be a really good addition. I think that was a really good decision for them to go with him. So that's going to bring in my AFC teams. Then over on the NFC side, we have the Buccaneers, who just once again, Tom Brady's got the greatest luck because now Zach Martin has COVID for Thursday night. They're going to be missing literally their best offensive lineman for that game. So Tom Brady strikes again. And we have the Packers with the 2 seed, the Rams with the 3 seed, the Washington football team with the 4 seed, have the Vikings bringing you up to 5th, 49ers with the 6th, and the Seahawks with the 7th. So we have 3 NFC West teams making the playoffs. I know Drew is really excited about that because now he has to watch the Rams play them. And, that's just going to be a ridiculous division for sure. But, to continue on, we have the Bills and the Colts, Chiefs and Browns. I have the Bills winning, the Browns actually upsetting the Chiefs. So not only is a Super Bowl repeat not in the cards, I don't think they even make the AFC Championship game this year, which anytime you're betting against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, you're probably going to be on the losing end of that. And so that's going to be my big one that I'm probably going to lose on. But at the same time, I've always been a big fan of a complete team versus, elite players with just kind of scraps around them. And I just think the Browns have probably, if you've listened to the show, you already know, I think they have a top 2 to 3 roster in the entire NFL. But I don't think that's quite enough to get past the Bills, who I do have going on to the Super Bowl. Then on the NFC side, we have the Seahawks upsetting the Packers in the wild card game. I hate to say it. I hate to be like this, but for whatever reason, Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs, I have no doubt that he's going to put up 48 points, but the Seahawks will score 50. I believe it on average, the Packers defense in the playoffs with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback on average give up 41 points per game, which is just, that's insane. So yeah, Packers defense will have to show me more, but I think the Aaron Rodgers era in Green Bay is going to go out on a whimper. So if my mother is listening to this, I love you. I'm sorry. But I do have the Bucks and Seahawks facing off after that. And then I have the Rams beating the 49ers. There you go, Drew. And the Washington football team losing to the Vikings just because the NFC East does not really matter. It's just kind of for show. And I think the Vikings will have kind of a really decent year. Possibly we'll see what happens with the addition to some of the defensive players that are going to be back for them, especially Daniil Hunter. I think that's going to transform that defense even more. Then we have the Bucks beating the Seahawks, the Rams taking out the Vikings, then the Bucks and the Rams, and actually have the Rams taking down Tampa Tom, and Matt Stafford leading the Rams to the Super Bowl against the Buffalo Bills. I know, Drew, it's going to be a great year for you, but unfortunately it has to end. I think Josh Allen's going to end it for you.
If I have to watch the Rams as another Super Bowl, I might lose
my
mind.
Yeah, that came into my mind. I was like, oh my gosh, like I know he's gonna be glad. I have him going that far, but at the same time, like to get there and then lose, it's almost like you'd rather just not be there at all.
An AFC East team again as well.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, different AFC East team, but yeah, to me, the Bills are just, I think they're on the precipice of building something special there to rival Kansas City in the AFC, and not only the AFC, but the entire NFL. I like the Bills defense a little bit more. I think the weapons aren't as good on offense, Then again, I mean, Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs are kind of a wash to me. Obviously, you have Travis Kelce, but outside of that, I just think Josh Allen is in for one of the best years that the NFL has seen. And I think the Bills defense is a lot better than some of the other defenses. And I think this is possibly, if some of these other guys can make that leap, Ed Oliver, AJ Epineza, obviously, we talked about the cornerback room as well on the last show, and how special that DB lineup is as well. I just think the Browns, I think they can get this far. I don't quite think they're there yet. I think they need a little bit more playoff experience from Baker. And I think they're in also another team that's building something special. But like I said, I'm really high on Josh Allen this year. I think he's going to break the NFL, and I think it's going to end up with a Super Bowl title, bringing back the Buffalo. No more 4 straight losses. We're finally
Right.
going to get one, Bills Mafia. So can't wait to see all the flaming tables that are going to be jumped through at the end of February. So that will be my playoff prediction. Like I said, feel free to get on here and completely shit on me at the end of February.
So I will say, whenever I was looking at this, you really followed the same mold that you had whenever you were doing your previews for the separate divisions, because we kind of had a pattern where I was taking teams with the better quarterback, like the Cowboys over Washington, and things like that, and you were sticking with the more complete rosters that you like more, and you pointed that out again whenever you were doing your predictions. You took the Browns over the Chiefs in that same mold. So I mean, that's this isn't something catastrophically surprising if you've been following along for you to make that kind of call. I was more surprised that you had the Seahawks beating the Packers than I was that you had the Browns beating the Chiefs. Honestly, that one was the one that, like, you think you hear the Chiefs not making to the AFC Championship would be the big eyebrow raiser. Whenever I saw that Seahawks pick, I was like, well, okay, we're in business now. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I like it. I think it's I
yeah,
like
it was just kind of a bold call.
Yeah.
And
something like that happens every year, man.
Yeah, exactly. There's always one every year that you don't see coming. And I just think the Packers roster, especially with all the turmoil that's went on this last off season, some of the aging players as well there, they still don't really have a wide receiver outside of Devonte Adams that's trustworthy. Can Robert Tonyan repeat the extreme touchdowns that he did last year? We don't know. And the defense is still, outside of a couple guys, a massive question mark.
Christ, man, whenever you're begging for them to bring Clay Matthews back, you got to be in a bad spot on defense.
Yeah, and Jordy Nelson. I mean, you want to get the boys back together, but yeah, I mean, I just think the Seahawks, I think this is finally the year with that new offensive coordinator that the Seahawks actually let Russ cook. And outside of, the 49ers, that's when I was doing that division preview, I did have the Seahawks finishing 3rd in that division. And as you see here in the playoffs, they do finish 3rd in that division.
Right.
That division is absolutely loaded. So even if you're finishing 3rd in that division, you're still making the playoffs, even if it is the last spot. And I think that division is talented enough that where even a 3rd place team in that division can walk in the Lambeau Field and knock off the Aaron Rodgers led Packers and pretty much end any thoughts of, a happy goodbye, a la Peyton Manning and John Elway.
Man, if he gets bounced in the first round, he really ain't going to be able to get out of Green Bay fast enough. Like, that dude's going to have his bags packed 5 minutes after he gets home.
He'll be gone, and he'll be really excited to make the Super Bowl in Denver next year.
Denver Broncos are going to be looking bright next year for sure.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was my big upset pick. I'm just a big believer in Russell Wilson, and I think with the weapons that he has, especially bringing Gerald Everett in, we've already talked about the teams and specifics, but so I don't want to get too far into it, but yeah, I mean, that was my big shocker. And then of course I have them going down to Tampa Bay and Tom Brady unloading on that defense, the next week. I mean, that's got to suck if you're a Seahawks fan, you knock off Aaron Rodgers and your consolation prize is Tom Brady.
Right. That's brutal, man.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's just how I see it playing out. And then, like I said, on the other side, this is clearly to me a 2 to 3 division juggernaut. Granted, it is extremely deep. The AFC has so many really good teams, but I think as far as being elite level teams, it's a really top heavy conference. So
there's several teams you could see being like the 6 and
making
7
making the playoffs,
but there's only about like 3 teams, maybe 4 realistically, where you're like, these guys are going to be in the Super Bowl. For me personally,
and I think if you're going 4, I mean, I still don't know about the Ravens because I still don't know about the weapons there for Lamar outside of Mark Andrews. And then, like I said, once the Ravens get down, I haven't been able to see them come back. So I don't know if I want to put them in that top level competition. So for me, it's just pretty much the Bills, the Chiefs, and the Browns are in that elite tier. And then everybody else is just kind of there. competing for 4 through 7, and that's just the way it falls. But yeah, Bills fans, like I said, we'll get on to Drew's picks here, but Bills fans are gonna be really happy.
Bills fans, if Landon's got you hooked now, don't leave yet, because we're getting to the award predictions in a little bit. And I'm the one that put them on the paper, so I've had a little sneak peek. And Bills fans are gonna like your predictions for the NFL awards too. So don't go anywhere just yet. But all right, I guess since you threw it to me, I was gonna throw it to Jared, but since you threw it to me, I guess I'll.
Yeah, you put me on the spot, so I had to put
it's
you
only
back
it's
on
only
the spot.
right. It's only right. That's fair. All right.
Imagine that. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, look, I don't care, man. I don't care at all. I'm going to start on the AFC, though. I'll get to the NFC in a second. So AFC, I got the AFC champs, the 1 seed, the Kansas City Chiefs, the AFC North champs, the Cleveland Browns on the 2 seed, AFC East champs, Buffalo Bills on the 3, and the
there.
AFC South champion, Tennessee Titans at the 4.
You can stop there.
By far the one I'm the most nervous about, I will say that much. And then my 3 wildcard teams, I got the Ravens taking the top wildcard spot. I got the Colts at the 6th seed. And then I do have the Chargers at the 7th seed. I have them slightly edging out. I struggled a lot with this one. It was between them, the Steelers, the Patriots, and the Broncos too. Those were 3 teams that I really had trouble leaving out, but I like the Chargers outlook a lot this year. And the only concern for me for them is health, and that's it. If the team can finally stay healthy for once, I think that they'll have a big season ahead of them. But over in the NFC, I've got Tampa Tom and the Bucks taking the 1 seed, the LA Rams taking the 2 seed, NFC West champions, the Green Bay Packers taking the 3 seed and winning the NFC North, and then the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East. And then my 3 wildcard teams are the Vikings with the 5 seed, the Niners with the 6 seed, and the Seahawks with the 7 seed. So similar to you, I've got 3 NFC West teams making the playoffs in a very annoying fashion. So then heading it back over to the AFC, obviously the Chiefs got the bye, so they're moving along. I've got the Ravens beating the Titans and facing the Chiefs, and then I've got the Browns beating the Chargers, the Bills beating the Colts, and then setting up a Browns-Bills matchup. And then the Chiefs handling the Ravens. Look what you talked about earlier with them falling behind. I don't think there's any way they don't fall behind if they do end up facing the Chiefs, and and making up that deficit, even as good as their defense is going to be. I don't think that's going to happen. And then the Browns and the Bills facing off, and I actually have the Browns taking down the Bills and moving on to the AFC Championship game. And this is where I wanted to get bold, because I wanted to pick the Browns to go to the Super Bowl. But I just can't make that leap with Baker yet, especially whenever Patrick Mahomes is on the other side of the field. I couldn't do it, man. And the Mahomes contract, the team did a really good job constructing that to where, at least for, I haven't looked more than a couple years ahead, but they've at least got a couple more years of most of the roster that's intact right now. And barring injury, they're not extremely deep. So I do have to say barring injury, but barring injury, I think that this team is primed to just continue making Super Bowl runs. So I do have the Chiefs beating the Browns in the AFC Championship game and going on to the Super Bowl. Now going over to the NFC side, obviously the Bucks have the bye, so they move on. I've got the Rams beating the Seahawks, the Packers beating the 49ers, and those 2 teams facing off in a rematch of last year's playoff game. Then I have the Vikings beating the Cowboys and heading down to Tampa to take on the Bucks. And then I have the Bucks beating the Vikings, and I do have the Rams beating the Packers. This time, thankfully, according to my prediction, it will not be in Lambeau, and Jared Goff will not be playing quarterback. So, if you take those factors, you take those 2 factors into last year's playoff game, I think the Rams win that playoff game too. So, I do have them moving on and facing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game. And then this one is it's not a surprise. Look, I'm a Rams fan. I own that. My bias is fully in my picks here, but I do have the Rams taking down the Bucks and going on to the Super Bowl. And I mean, look, the reality is the Rams beat the Bucks last year with Jared Goff. Now that was before, I believe that was before the bye week, if I'm remembering correctly. Whenever the Tampa Bay really started to hit their stride, I can't remember. I should have looked at before, but regardless, the Rams did beat this Bucks team, which is the infamous thing is this is the Bucks team that brought everybody back from last year. This is the same team team that the Rams played last year. But that, granted, they do have more experience under their belt now. Tom has more time in Bruce Arians' system under his belt now. But I do think that with the addition of Matthew Stafford, this team has only gotten better, and I do have them taking down the Bucs and going on to the Super Bowl. And then, look, as a Rams fan, I'm not about to put them in the Super Bowl and say they're going to lose. Okay, I'm not going to do it. I don't give a shit who they're playing. It does not matter. I'm not going to pick them to lose in the Super Bowl on my own fucking predictions. So, I do have the Los Angeles Rams winning the Super Bowl this year. I've been, obviously as a Rams fan, I've been following this team closely my entire life, but specifically for the last couple of years, what I've seen is a roster that has been Super Bowl ready and made one Super Bowl, for the last few years, and has just been essentially a quarterback away. And, I believe that they made a jump from a guy that's a borderline top 10 quarterback in the league to, they were using a quarterback that was in the 20s for me. And whenever you're talking about the quarterback position, that's a big jump to make, to go from the level of talent that they were seeing to the guy that they have now, Matthew Stafford. And I've talked plenty, whenever we covered the trade initially, and then during the NFC West preview, about why Stafford is such an upgrade for this team. So I'm not going to get too deep into that, but I'm going to ride it out this year, man. And it could just be a huge crash and burn. And and then whenever we're doing our 2022, 2023 predictions, if that's how the 2021 season plays out, I probably won't have the Rams win the Super Bowl. But this year, with all the unknown, with who knows what Stafford and McVay are going to do together, I've never been this excited for an NFL season in my life. It's like whenever they had the Greatest Show on Turf, I was just a kid. I've recently been told that those years don't count for me as a fan anyway, because I was a kid. So, as I got older, and whenever the Greatest Show on Turf was going on, I was more focused on playing sports than watching sports and stuff like that. We're talking about me being like 9, 10 years old, stuff like that.
You were soft back then.
Right. Yeah. Couldn't even do a pull-up yet. But in my adult years, this is by far the most excited I've ever been for an NFL season as a Rams fan. And so I've got a platform where I get a chance to make these predictions and stuff, and I wasn't about to not pick the Rams to win the Super Bowl this year. So, we're here. This season, and the reality is, it is Super Bowl or bust for this team. Like, we don't have a first round pick until like 2050. So, and there are some concerns with some of the pieces they lost in the offseason. But the crazy thing with this team, man, is like, they lost John Johnson to the Browns, the safety that was a Pro Bowl level safety. And now here, year 2 of Jordan Fuller, 6th round draft pick, and now he's looking like another late round steal by Les Snead. He's looked great. He's a team captain already. Like, just they continue to hit on these late round picks, and if they can continue to do that and surround Stafford with talent, I think the rest of the world that doesn't already appreciate Stafford is about to this year. So that's how I got it shaken out, man.
Yeah, draft Robert Woods in your fantasy league.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so that's my predictions, man. Look, if you know me at all, this was extremely predictable, but I'm not about to fade away from that. I'm going to absolutely lean all the way into it, and I'm going to ride this thing out at least for this year. If shit hits the fan this year, then my predictions next year will look a little different, but I'm going to have some fun with it this year.
Yeah, well, really, I mean, what's really funny to me is the fact that really outside of the Washington football team with the Cowboys, we have the exact same 7 with the exact same seeds as well.
I know.
So that's interesting for sure. So now we will get to the new guy on the block coming in hot with these predictions for you. And you are now officially my mother's favorite other son, and I've been replaced.
So first and foremost, let me say one thing. Drew, if we get a Chiefs-Rams Super Bowl, I pray to God it's as good as that Monday Night Football game was.
Oh my God.
Like, that would be the funnest thing in the world to watch. I watched that with Landon.
Yeah.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, the last Rams Super Bowl was not good.
No, it was not fun to watch. Trust me, it was.
Even if you're a
awful.
Patriots fan, it was not fun to watch. Like, it was brutal.
That was a terrible game.
Yeah, my board looks a lot different than your guys's.
And before you get started, for me, this was really interesting because if you've been following along, Jared was only with us for two divisions as far as like breaking down how we thought the divisions would fall out. So we had no idea who we had winning the other divisions, who he was high on and things like that. So just like whenever I was putting his picks in here, I was fascinated. So sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you're good, man. You're good. Yeah, like this is just like my gut feeling on a lot of it. And well, I'll go into a little bit more detail about it. I'll start with the AFC. The Chiefs, they're still the Kansas City Chiefs. They're still got the best quarterback in the NFL, in my opinion. Number 2 will be on the other side in the NFC, and we'll get to that. But yes, I've got them winning the division, also being the 1 seed. I've got Buffalo at the 2 seed. I do think they are the best team in the East. I think that's a very tough division. I've got the Ravens actually winning the AFC North, and I've got the Colts winning the AFC South. So the Ravens at 3 and the Colts
Let's go.
at 4.
Let's go. We finally got somebody smart on this podcast.
Look, if we get a 4th co-host, I'm finding another Rams fan. This is bullshit.
Well,
I'll get my boy David on here. He's a Rams.
Yeah, there we go.
It's no hate at Tennessee. I just don't
trust the defense.
I don't trust that defense at all.
It makes sense, man. It makes complete sense.
Do they have I mean, like me and Drew had this conversation. Do they have the better like 4 players? Like, well, I don't think like overall, because I mean DeForest Buckner, Quentin Nelson's better than anybody on the Titans. But I mean, yeah, if you look at it, yes, Ryan Tannehill's a better quarterback. Yes, Julio Jones and AJ Brown are better wide receivers. Yes, Derrick Henry, I mean, granted, that's their only running back, but is he better than any of the 4 Colts running backs? Yes. Outside of that, I
don't think anybody would argue that the Colts don't have the better roster.
There's people that argue. Yeah, there's people that would argue.
I don't think anybody that isn't a Titans fan would argue that the Colts. You know what I'm saying? Like the Colts have the better roster.
Outside of and to me, even running backs a wash, because I think the Colts' entire running back room with Hines and Jonathan Taylor taking that next leap. The Titans running back room is literally Derrick Henry, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I would even say that could even possibly be a wash. Obviously, the quarterback is not a wash, and the wide receivers are definitely not a wash. Well, but outside of those, like to me, and it goes in. And I'm sorry to hijack Jared's thing.
No, you're good, man.
No, it goes back to what we were talking about whenever I did my playoff predictions, and he was saying, it's to me. 4 players don't win football games. 53 players do. So I'm always going to side with a better overall roster and the deeper roster, because we all know injuries are going to happen. The Titans are 1 injury away from competing with Jacksonville in that division. And I mean, if Derrick Henry gets hurt, that team's over. And that's just how I feel about it. Now, like, do they have other pieces I like? Yeah. Do I like Jeffrey Simmons a lot? Yeah, I think Jeffrey Simmons is a good player. I think he could possibly be an elite player. I don't think he's better than DeForest Buckner. So, I mean, yeah, that's just – I'm sorry to get on another Colts rant, but, yeah, I'm not going to take this. Jared, finish up. I'm not.
No, it's not even being a biased Colts fan. How many games you going to get out of Julio Jones? I mean, that's a good possibility he plays 6 games. Like, I mean, I don't know about his health. He's fully healthy, but
no, he's been banged up already in preseason.
Well, I mean, you got that to consider. I think Jonnu Smith was a big part of that offense. It's not going to be there this year. There's all kinds of different things with that team. Still think they have a good offensive line. But I ain't gonna talk about the Titans. They're not even on here, so I'm gonna move on from Tennessee.
That's right.
I got the Browns getting the first wild card spot. I got the Ravens actually squeaking that division out. The Patriots in the 6th, and I have the Steelers in the 7th. It was hard, like you guys said on your 7th pick. It was extremely hard as well. That's a tough position because I like the Chargers a lot, and like I just have a feeling this is Roethlisberger's last run, and I think he gets in. I think Mike Tomlin's too good of a head coach for it not to happen, and I still believe in that defense. And I think if they can get any kind of running game on Najee Harris, like I think they can squeak in the playoffs. But that's who I got getting in on the AFC side. NFC, I've got Tampa Bay being the 1 seed, the Rams being the 2. It's kind of been everyone's got the Rams at the 2 seed right now. Packers in the 3, and I got the Washington football team winning the East with the Seahawks the 5th seed, 49ers the 6th, and the Dallas Cowboys as the 7th seed. I think the NFC East is going to be a lot better than what it's been in the past. And this is like,
I agree.
It's throwing darts, but I do feel like it's going to be a much better division. I was actually tempted to put the Giants in at the 7th seed because I think their defense is all right, but I think Prescott's going to be good enough, and he's going to be a great bounce back player this year. That offense clicked last year, and the games they lost with him at quarterback were by narrow margins. And I think the defense will be somewhat better to where they win out more games than what they did last year. And I think if Dak would have played last year, they still would have missed the playoffs. But they got one of the most talented offenses in the NFL, hands down. And then going back, got the Chiefs over to Browns in the divisional. And then the Ravens over to Bills, setting up for the AFC Championship game with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Ravens. And then in the NFC, I got the Bucks over the Washington football team and the Packers beating the Rams. And I'm sorry, Drew, in advance for that one. And you guys do not believe in this Green Bay Packers team, but that's neither here nor there. I got the Chiefs over the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, and I got the Green Bay Packers over the Buccaneers in the AFC Championship game. And then we go to the Super Bowl, and it's basically a repeat of last year where you have Patrick Mahomes, who he's the best quarterback in the NFL outside of the guy he's going to be playing. I think Aaron Rodgers, just to stick it to everybody one last time, he wins a championship in Green Bay and he moves on to a different team. That's how I foresee it happening. Like Aaron Rodgers, I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan. Landon knows that. I'm not, but the guy is great at football, and I think he is so arrogant that that's his way out, and he just wants to basically stick it to him one last time. And I think he wins a championship, and I think he goes in Denver next season.
I have no doubt that's his mindset. You think you don't need me? Jordan Love. You think that Jordan Love's the answer? Okay, cool. Well, go check this out. I won MVP for you last year. I'm gonna win you a Super Bowl this year, and then I'm out. And I'm gonna go win another Super Bowl in Denver.
The year before that, they were talking about, is Aaron Rodgers declining? And then they drafted Jordan Love, and he wins MVP.
Yeah, they've been saying that about Tom Brady for 15 years.
Right.
Now.
Yeah, Max Kellerman tried to call it for his decline 9 times before First Take was finally all right, we got to get this guy out of here.
Yeah.
Our First Take keeps making it all Tom Brady's postseason highlight reels because Max won't shut up. So
and there's a lot of question marks with that Packers defense, but this team's made the NFC Championship game how many times?
3 times in a row.
Yeah, I think this is the year they finally get there, and I think they get it done, man. I think Aaron Rodgers gets to hold it up one last time. And I
hope you're right.
Moves on. And I'm not even a Packers fan. That's how I foresee it going down. I think he gets to stick it to him one last time.
I mean, I hate that you have the Rams losing, obviously, but I like that they lose to the Super Bowl champion. So you know that's all right. I can swallow that loss a little bit better.
Aaron Rodgers' problem in the playoffs has never necessarily been Aaron Rodgers, though. That's my only worry is, to get to the Super Bowl and to win a Super Bowl and to get that far. Everybody else except for Aaron Rodgers is going to have to step up, and I just don't know if Green Bay. I don't know.
Man, I've seen Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl handing the ball off 30 times in the game. I've seen Ray Lewis with a mechanical arm out there win a Super Bowl. They find ways to make storybooks.
Well, the Ray Lewis and all that sports are rigged. I mean,
big time players make big time plays in big time games.
Oh, this is my last year. I'm going to retire. Super Bowl. Oh, I'm Peyton Manning. This is my last year. I'm going to retire. Super Bowl.
I think the big.
If you really want to deep dive into some conspiracy theories, like
the Saints,
Hurricane Katrina happened. Oh, the Saints win the Super Bowl. 9/11 happened. Oh, the Patriots win the Super Bowl.
I think the big headline for
sports are rigged.
For us is none of us have. Don't ruin sports. Come on, man. We are mostly a sports podcast. Don't ruin sports. But none of us have the Bucks. Not only do we not have them repeating, we don't even have none of us have them even making the Super Bowl. I think that's a pretty big headline, but also got to keep in mind how hard it is to win back-to-back Super Bowls
Yes.
too. Like I think it's been since the 70s since somebody repeated. Was it like the Steelers in the 70s or something like that? Since somebody repeated in the Super Bowl, a Super Bowl champion.
No,
Yeah, Drew, you had the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Tom Brady did it.
He went back-to-back.
He did.
You sure?
Yeah. Yeah, in the mid 2000s, like his first three, he won one, missed the playoffs, and then went back to back.
We might have to fact check that, man.
No, I pull it up.
I think he's right. I think they beat Carolina and they beat
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
Back to back.
Who
03 and
was
04.
the last team to win back-to-back Super Bowls? Google.
New
Help
England
me, please.
Patriots.
03 and 04, I believe.
Was the last team.
Yep.
To win.
Because they didn't make the playoffs in 02.
The Steelers are the lone team to accomplish back-to-back Super Bowl victories on 2 separate occasions. I don't care about the separate occasions, Google. I just want to know who did it last. I asked this simple question. Yeah, it has the Patriots listed on here, so that has to be it. 30. I'm trying to siphon out these Roman numerals. 38 and 39. Super Bowl 38 and 39. That sound right to you guys?
Yeah.
For the ones you're talking about?
Yeah, it should have been the Panthers and the Eagles. They beat.
Yeah. Which were both great. Man, that was the one thing about Brady back in the day, too. All the Super Bowls were really good. Like, as far as like the Rams, I hate even bringing up to Drew, but like all those games were decided by 3 or less points.
Well, yeah, I mean, they knew what was going to happen.
Yes.
But yeah. The guy that we actually don't have making back-to-back Super Bowls was the last.
It's the last one to do it.
Of course. So
yeah, of course.
Tom Brady's actually going to watch this podcast probably and mark it down on like this thing. It's just like these motherfuckers. Like, here we go.
He's sending this to the social media team right now. Whenever I went back-to-back Super Bowls, you put these guys on my highlight reel.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to be in a Tom Brady tweet on the internet.
Oh man,
we might be looking for jobs like Max Kellerman.
yeah. We're gonna be right next to Max Kellerman now. Oh man.
Hey, look, Max, if you need another platform, you want to hop on.
If ESPN radio is not enough, then by all means.
Oh no.
Yeah, so but I'll let you know we do not tolerate Tom Brady slander on this podcast. I'm not going to slander the old man anymore. I've spent too much of my younger years doing that.
Too much time and effort.
Yeah. So now we will finally move on. You got all 3 of our playoffs. So now let's move on to our NFL awards prediction for the 2021 season. As you can see up here, if you're following along, you've probably already read through them and like in your mind, just be like, these dudes are idiots, but we're going to discuss them. So since I'm up here first, we will go with me, Bills fans. Get excited again. We have Josh Allen as the most valuable player. And I think, like I said, he's going to break the NFL this season. It's going to be a historic year for Josh Allen, not only with his personal play winning the MVP, but also leading the Bills to that Super Bowl. I think Stephon Diggs is in for a massive year as well. So, Drew, if you want to trade him to me in the Dynasty League, you go right ahead. So then Offensive Player of the Year, I think that's going to go to Travis Kelce. It was hard for me not to put a running back in this role, but I think Travis Kelce is going to be in for another really good season at that tight end position. Defensive Player of the Year, as if there's really any question. According to Jared, there is, but me and Drew, there's not. It's Aaron Donald, and it's going to be Aaron Donald winning that award until Aaron Donald shows me that he's not going to win the award. Then Offensive Rookie of the Year, I have Mac Jones, who leads the Patriots into the postseason as your Offensive Rookie of the Year. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Kwity Paye, who is already looks like a complete animal without lining up with DeForest Buckner. I think when he lines up next to DeForest Buckner, it's only going to get that much easier for him. So I think he's in for double-digit sacks and Defensive Rookie of the Year. Comeback Player of the Year, I have Christian McCaffrey, who just continues to put up 2,000-yard total seasons on average. And I think as long as he's healthy, he's in for another big year. Coach of the year, Bills fans, is Sean McDermott. Getting that number 1 overall seed, getting that Super Bowl victory. They're going to be the best team in the NFL this year. I think so. So that's who I've got winning the awards. So now let's move on to Jared.
Yeah. I got Patrick Mahomes as MVP because I still believe that he is the best quarterback in the NFL. Him and Aaron Rodgers, 1A, 1B. Devonte Adams, I got him as the offensive player of the year. Kind of goes back to my pick with the Packers winning the Super Bowl. I mean, outside of Aaron Rodgers, you got to have somebody that's also going to blow up on that offense. And what the year Devonte Adams had last year was just unreal, absolutely unreal. And he even missed games last year and put up those numbers. This one right here I felt like Aaron Donald is definitely like the best defensive player in the NFL. I just think Chase Young is going to get it done this year. I think this guy is he is unreal.
If there was anybody except for Aaron Donald that I would pick,
I was just about to say the same
Chase
thing.
Young.
Yeah, if I wouldn't have
Man.
picked Aaron Donald, I would have picked Chase Young too. So
I didn't get to
I'm
watch a
thinking
whole lot
comparisons.
of I didn't get to watch a lot of Washington games last year, but man, that playoff game, like that dude was everywhere on the field, like against Tampa, and Tampa had a great offensive line, just like fully loaded defense or offense. And Chase Young was everywhere in that game. Like he was just in every location. I got Trevor Lawrence winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. I do like your guys' picks on those. Like Landon, I'll touch on yours. Mac Jones, because I got the Patriots in the playoffs as well. I think that's a very good pick. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to put up the numbers. I do think I think that's why he'll edge it out. That's a great draft class too. Pay Defensive Rookie of the Year for everything Landon touched on. Dude looked like just a freak, like in the preseason. What film I get to see on him. This was tough too, like because there's so many people I think they're gonna have like great bounce back years. But McCaffrey's a freak. I went with Christian McCaffrey as well. And then go back to the Packers. I think they're just gonna have like a crazy year this year. And I got Matt LaFleur to win the Coach of the Year.
I like it, man. I like it. All right, so MVP, I've got the old man taking it, the GOAT.
all right,
Look, yeah,
bring it home.
I think, man, Tampa Tom. I've heard from what I've heard from other from Cardinals fans and things like that, people that are familiar with Bruce Arians, is that whenever Bruce comes in or whenever you come into a Bruce Arians led offense, it usually takes about a full year to get really comfortable in his system. And it looked like it took Tom about half a year, which would make sense. It would take Tom, about half the time it would take normal people, because whenever they came out of that bye week and they signed Antonio Brown, he just that whole team looked different, and then Tom looked different. It doesn't make sense that a guy his age looks that good, but he did
On a torn meniscus.
Right, exactly. That's another point to my pick. And so now you've got a full off season. He's healthy. He's got a full year under his belt with Bruce Arians. He's got the exact same team coming back. I don't love the running backs on this team. I think they're going to have to pass a lot, even with them having the lead. I don't think they're really going to be able to depend on the run to kill clock and things like that. Like, I think they're basically going to have to run through the air, just, let Tom do his thing with the short passes and stuff like that. But then the deep bombs too, because Bruce, look, you're not going to play in a Bruce Arians offense and not throw bombs. Like, Bruce will not be having any of that. And they've got the offensive playmakers to make that happen. And I just think he's in for a very Aaron Rodgers year, like what Rodgers did last year, as far as like touchdown to interception ratio and things like that. I think Brady can do a similar thing this year, and I think they're going to have the best record in the NFL, and it's going to be behind a huge season from Tom Brady, and I think he's going to have another MVP under his belt. Offensive Player of the Year. I went with Christian McCaffrey on this one just for the simple fact that, you guys had him as your comeback player of the year. I also think he's going to have a great year, and I think that he's going to take this award. Defensive Player of the Year,
look, my Rams bias has bin made clear, but this is the one that, like, even if you're not a Rams fan, this is a pick that can be easy to make. Aaron Donald, I just thank God he's on the Rams. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I took Trey Lance, and this one was tough because I think that Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, and Zach Wilson are much safer picks for this award because it's going to be it seems like there's 5 really good quarterbacks that are rookies coming into this year, and 3 of them we know when they're starting, like Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson. We know week 1 they're the guy they're going to be starting. So those guys I feel like are the safer picks because they're going to have the opportunity from the jump to rack up the stats that can go with winning this award. But I think once Trey Lance does get the reins, he is going to set the league on fire. And I have the 49ers making the playoffs. He's a big reason for that. And so I think with the impact he makes once he does get in the starting job, that he ends up getting Offensive Rookie of the Year. But that one is a little bit more dicey because you don't know when that's going to happen. You don't know when the transition is going to happen. And the 49ers start out pretty like their beginning of your schedule is pretty light too. So like Jimmy G
Detroit,
struggle
week
too
1.
much. Yeah, exactly. So like, they're not going to be calling for
This
Jimmy G's
too,
head
like,
right off the bat.
This might be the first year we ever see a 2 quarterback system in the NFL with the way that they seem to want to be using Jimmy
It's like Drew
G and
Brees,
Trey
it's like
Lance.
Drew Brees and Taysom Hill, but better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Jimmy
like,
G, I don't know. Like,
no, yeah, I'm not saying that like Jimmy G is going to be better than Drew Brees, but I'm just saying like the way that with Kyle
were
Shanahan,
used,
and the way that like I think that the 2 quarterback system will be more effective than Drew Brees and Taysom Hill was. I'm not saying that Jimmy G is Drew Brees plus or anything like that.
Drew Brees was not good last year either.
That's fair. That's fair. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I went with Jason Owe. I don't want to obliterate his actual first name, but defensive end from the Baltimore Ravens. I think he's going to be in for a huge year, and so I think he ends up with the most sacks of any defensive rookie. Sorry,
Wrong.
guys. Yeah, I know. Comeback Player of the Year for me, this one was pretty easy. You've got a star quarterback that is on his way back from injury. He's probably gonna, assuming he stays healthy, and you add an extra game to the schedule, he's gonna be flirting with 5,000 yards passing. And I mean, it made it a little bit easier for me because the guy you guys picked, I had winning Offensive Player of the Year anyway. But so yeah, whenever you've got a quarterback that fits that mold of a possible comeback, that one was an easy one for me. And then Coach of the Year, I had Brandon Staley, and an interesting note that I want to bring up that kind of swayed me a little bit on this one. Shout out to Vegas Insider for this little note, but the Coach of the Year award has been won by first-year coaches 3 out of the last 4 years, which I thought was kind of an interesting little stat nugget. And I think out of the first-year coaches this year, I'm talking about Brandon Staley, Arthur Smith, Urban Meyer, Robert Saleh, guys like that. I think that Brandon Staley is set up. One, he was my favorite hire this year anyway, but I also think he's on the best roster of any of these first-year coaches as well. And I have the Chargers making the playoffs. So with all those factors, I did pick Brandon Staley to win the Coach of the Year. And then there was one other note that I wanted to bring up, but what was it? I don't know. I have to find it, but anyway. But yeah, so I think that Brandon Staley is an incredible defensive mind, and with the offensive pieces they have there, and what he will do with what they have on defense, I think that they squeeze into the playoffs, and he gets Coach of the Year because of that. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I really wanted to like do revised ones as well, like MVP Carson Wentz, Offensive Player of the Year Jonathan Taylor, Defensive Player of the Year DeForest Buckner.
I don't know how hard it was for me not to pick Matthew Stafford as MVP. Like I
you can't pick a Lions quarterback.
I struggled not to put Stafford down as MVP.
You can take the Detroit out of him, or you can take him out of Detroit, but you can't take the Detroit out of him.
Yeah, I struggled, man. I really did. But I think Tampa Tom is about to be in for anybody that doesn't have him at GOAT status yet. I think he's going to cement that this year. I really do.
if you don't have him at GOAT status, then you're just a biased, like you're
like
just
we
biased.
were 3 years ago.
Yeah. I mean,
how many
yeah,
arguments do we
absolutely.
have in Facebook
Peyton Manning's
comments
still
over
the
the year,
GOAT.
man?
Peyton Manning's still the GOAT, but
We fought it out for years in
years,
Facebook
dude.
comments.
Dude, I told you, man, it was that Atlanta Super Bowl. After that Atlanta Super Bowl, I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm
Yeah,
done.
I still
I'm
remember.
done.
I still remember the first half of the Super Bowl. I was like, I made a Facebook status like this is every Tom Brady hater's dream right now. And then the second half, I like reposted my own status and was like, well, never mind. Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Yeah. It was after that I was just like, I can't fight it anymore. I'm done. It's
Man, that
and then he won like
crazy.
then he won even more after that. So
we had a little poll at work that year, and I had the Falcons in the Super Bowl. Like I predicted the Falcons in the Super Bowl because their defense started clicking towards the end of that year. And then like leading up to the Super Bowl, I'm like, it's going to go one or two ways. Atlanta's either going to blow them out or New England will find a way to win. And
it went both those ways.
Yeah. I was like, man, I was on cloud nine at the end of that first half. And then like, I felt like,
oh yeah. I remember we were jumping up and down because Steven was in there.
Pick 6 to end the first half. And man,
say we were in there. Like one of our best friends is a huge Patriots fan, and man, dude, we were giving him hard shit. Yeah,
he left.
Yeah, we were giving him so much shit, and yeah, that didn't work out. So
he came back with 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and he's like, "Hey, is the game still on?"
He came back to shit on us, and rightfully so. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting season. That's the thing about the NFL, and especially doing these prediction shows is nobody knows, especially,
this is just a fun exercise to go through, man. Yeah. It's not because we think we have our mind wrapped around the entire NFL and we know exactly how it's going to play out. It's fun to put pen to paper and put your name on a certain team or player or whatever the case may be and just and see how it runs out. But the NFL is about as unpredictable as it gets.
Well, yeah. And then especially last year, but look, COVID's not gone either. I mean, there's some of these guys,
it's already starting back.
Yeah, exactly. So, as we see this coming up Thursday, their best offensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys isn't playing. That's a huge hit to that roster.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That's a big deal. So, you don't know how many of these guys, somebody can get COVID and be knocked out, especially if they're unvaccinated for, 10 days. And if that falls in, you miss a Sunday and then 7 days you could be miss 2 games, just like, it's snap of a finger. And then some of these predictions are way wrong. So, it's so unpredictable with COVID and the vaccine and nobody knows, but we're not really going to get into that. This is our predictions. If everything stays, 100, if, nobody misses time in a perfect world, this is, not really. In a perfect world, I would pull a Drew and just let my fandom take over and have the Colts in the Super Bowl. But yeah,
you had the Titans in the playoffs, man.
Who, me?
Yeah, you.
I did because I'm unbiased. Right, like regardless of what people want to say.
How hurt did it?
People will shit on me because I don't have the Titans winning the division, but I have them they will shit on me for having the Titans in the playoffs, and they will tell me that I'm biased. Like, no, dude, if I'm biased, y'all are going 0-17 and we're winning the Super Bowl and you can fuck off. That's what bias is. Me telling you that you're a playoff team, that's not me shitting on you.
Did you guys have a fallen off the hardest? Which team falls off the hardest this year?
That's a good question.
Are you talking about like from playoff teams last year, or just in general? Because I think the Raiders are in for a huge
playoff teams from last year.
Okay, so let's see 2021 playoff teams, because there's always one. NFL. Nobody cares about the NBA. So let's see here. The 2020 NFL playoffs participants. So, it's really not that much different from from this year. Okay, so I think the biggest fall off for me will be New Orleans.
Yeah, it has to be the Saints.
New Orleans or Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago was only a 7 seed anyway, so
yeah.
The Bears made the playoffs last year?
They should.
barely. Yep, barely.
I forgot they
played
even made it.
Yeah, they
and then New Orleans quickly dispatched them.
Yeah, I forgot. They had the Nickelodeon game. Yeah.
And so New Orleans was a 2 seed last year. We all have them missing the playoffs. So I think that's an obvious pick. For me personally, the Steelers were a 3 seed last year. I have them missing the playoffs. So that would be another one. But I mean, like, the Chiefs, the Bills, the Colts, the Browns, the Titans, the Ravens, those were all playoff teams last year. I have them all making the playoffs this year. The Packers, the Seahawks, the Rams, the Buccaneers, Washington. I don't have Washington making the playoffs, but I have them just missing it. It's really similar to last year. So yeah, I guess I would say, the Saints and the Steelers for me. Like if I had to pick one from each division, that would be, if you're talking about playoff teams, those would be the two that I would pick. But
and I forgot too, going back to my Cleveland over Kansas City. I forgot they played last year, and obviously I think that was the game Mahomes went out in like the third quarter, but that was like that was a really close game for the most part.
Game. Yeah.
And like I said, I think the Browns are the most improved team this offseason. Even being a playoff team last year, I think they're the most improved this offseason. So the main thing is I'm just ready for football, guys. We're so close.
So
4 days.
Yeah. So yeah, and I can't, I got my Colts room that I did this offseason. I have all the autographed jerseys with the help of, friends and all that stuff. Got my Quentin Nelson autographed helmet even here up on my computer. And I'm so excited to lose all of my money in this room. And speaking of money, instead of losing money, let's talk about winning some money, because now our next show after this is our DFS Fantasy Week 1 podcast. So
I'm ready.
Yeah, so
I'm ready to start talking about fantasy football again. Yes, I love talking about the NFL in general. This has been a lot of fun doing these previews of the divisions and now this, the playoff preview. But damn, fantasy football is fun, man, and I can't wait to get back to talking about it.
You guys, we still have 3 days. So if you want a life, if you want to enjoy the rest of your life for the next few months, you still have time to not play fantasy football.
Right.
Because it will literally take you over, and you will be disappointed. That's what it does. But we love it, and we can't wait to share some of our views on it. As you know, from some of our previous shows, you already kind of know where we're going. And even these NFL predictions should kind of help you choose, if you have a draft coming up over the next few days, which if you do, you're extremely smart, because it's always great to wait, for injuries.
The later, the better.
Yep. So you can even use some of these NFL predictions for players you should target as well. With the offensive player of the year, MVPs, comeback player of the year, stuff like that. So we're right there at it.
You can get my MVP in like the 8th round of fantasy drafts right now, man. Like you can punt quarterback, grab, get a full roster of players, and then grab the MVP in like the 8th round of a fantasy draft and be ready to go.
Yeah. Fantasy football is so much fun. And we were talking about, you said punt a quarterback till the 8th round draft we did. I drafted my quarterback in like the 16th round. Is when I took a quarterback, and I love the team I have. Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't even remember who I had at quarterback in that draft. I can't remember who we even have. That's the league that we have for the podcast. It's just
I
actually have Justin Herbert. So
that's up on the YouTube channel too.
Yeah, so we have that as well. So we will go ahead just to kind of prepare you guys for that. Just be on the lookout. We're not going to do the Thursday night game because we do want to enjoy the first game of the season. And most of the fantasy / DFS stuff all takes place on the Sunday main slates and the Sunday games. So we will get that out to you this coming up Saturday. That way, it's still fresh in your mind right before the season starts. And anything else, then we will let Drew do the closing.
So first and foremost, as always, thank you guys for listening. If you aren't already subscribed to any of our channels, we're over pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, doesn't really matter. We're there. So, go over to your favorite podcast provider and give this channel a subscribe or a follow, or, whatever the channel you uses for that. And then of course, if you want the visuals to go with the audio, we've got the drops of we've got the visuals for who we have picking, how we have it playing out, all that. If you want to see all that, go over to the YouTube channel, the Amateur Experts Podcast. Whenever you're over there, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Once you subscribe, click on the little bell that pops up so that you can be notified. It's more important now than ever, because now that the season's about to start rolling, not only are we going to recap what's been going on, we're also going to try to forecast what's going to happen and hopefully win you guys some money. So make sure that you guys have notifications on so that you can be made aware of when new shows drop, and make yourself richer for it. And then of course, while you're here on this particular video, be sure to like the video. It's extremely helpful for us. And then drop down in the comments and let us know, what teams do we miss? What teams do you have making the Super Bowl? What teams do you have winning the whole thing? Who do you have winning MVP? All that good stuff. Drop in the comments and let us know. It's always a fun way to get to interact, and that interaction helps our channel as well too. So, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And then as always, thank you.
Yes, sir. So we will see you guys this weekend. Hopefully we'll see what happens Thursday night, and we'll be a little bit richer. I know me and Jared are probably going to play the first game of the season, but
I will be in there too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
I'll show you some lineups.
Yeah. So who knows? Yeah, exactly. We might be the Amateur Millionaire Experts Podcast after week 1. So we will see here. But thank you guys so much for listening, and check you out on the weekend.